2024 was a decent year for games, but that's frankly all. No game went into my 10 out of 10 all-timers, but we definitely had a load of fun games. So I will give you a quick recap of all the good things I played in 2024 and a look ahead. Animal Well was a little triumph. A puzzler Metroidvania, extremely well designed, interesting visuals, and very clever in the use of the mechanics and its world. It's even better knowing Video Game Donkey making Big Mode, picking out these wonderful games to support, and they become a big success on the back of that. It gives a glimmer of hope in a frankly dark world of game development. I also played another game with friends called Planet Crafter. Certainly janky in terms of mechanics and world design, and may bore some people with a lack of automation, but there is something lovely about watching a barren world slowly terraform with life, the landscape change from your actions, and everything you do have an actual impact. There are really lovely environments and vistas to explore and find, but I wish there were more puzzles and mechanics to make the most of it. If you want a casual crafting game that's fun to play with your friends with no real difficulty or tension, this is a good one. Nine Souls is Dark Souls as a Metroidvania, but this time it genuinely is a Souls-like. It is difficult and forces you to learn the boss movesets and where to parry. It gives you the feeling of overcoming insurmountable odds quite nicely. And it has a setting I don't usually see, with Asian influence mixed with some Brave New World and other technological dystopias. It's a fun Metroidvania and a fun Souls-like. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth continued from remake to improve upon it in nearly every way. I loved the world of Final Fantasy VII as an open world. Everything felt bigger and more detailed. The combat continues to be fun, with each character having unique mechanics that seamlessly weave into the battle system. The story is what people will find a sticking point on, since Final Fantasy VII is so beloved. But I find it bold and brave to adapt such a well-known storyline, messing with the canon, and it makes it very interesting for me to play through it, seeing what the hell are they going to do? It is still a bit overstuffed with too much filler content, but any RPG that I would happily sink 100 hours into without being bored deserves playtime. Speaking of, metaphor ReFantazio is Persona 5 Lite, which is both a compliment and an insult, I suppose. Excellent RPG mechanics, polished to a shine. Very compelling story and characters in an interesting world. So many quality of life improvements that make the minute-to-minute gameplay engaging. The battles also have a very well-tuned difficulty curve, combined with the fact that the boss mechanics always get remixed to make memorable and fun fights. While the bosses are fantastic, the regular enemies are fairly forgetful, unfortunately, and the music doesn't quite reach the heights of Persona 5 for me. It's almost there, but not quite the level of the predecessor, but it's still a fantastic game. Balatro makes me jealous. A first-time dev making a smash hit, incredibly addictive roguelike. Gosh, wouldn't that be nice? I would have loved to see it win the Game of the Year, but I don't think an indie game really has any chance against the big money. I 100%ed Balatro, and even then I wanted to go back and play it some more. It's probably the most glowing review I can give it. Astrobot did win Game of the Year, however, and frankly I'm quite thrilled about this. It plays as well as a 3D Mario game, has polished mechanics and movement, it's a colourful and creative world, and honestly it shocks me it's on PlayStation. My only criticism would be that some of the PlayStation levels for major franchises were very fun, like the Loco Roco and Ape Escape theme worlds, and then you go to the Horizon, Uncharted and God of War, where they are far less exciting. They loan the mechanics from the themed game, which works better for the more outlandish ones, but having a gun and a bow and arrow really doesn't add much to the fun. Plus, I'm never not going to believe that Horizon Zero Dawn is an industry plant. You've got Crash Bandicoot, Gravity Rush, Patapon, Shadow of the Colossus or Parappa the Rapper, which could have been very interesting to use. But this does send a message to Sony. After the disaster of Concord, they've been sent a clear message. Make a fun game with the developers unhindered, and it will always prevail over some committee slop. Shadow of the Erdtree was more Elden Ring, so it's probably my favourite thing I played this year. Beautiful world, some of the best bosses I've ever fought, and still, From Software are pretty much unparalleled. I don't know what more to say. Like Bloodborne, the DLC completes the game, Shadow of the Erdtree completes Elden Ring. Thank you, Miyazaki and your team, thank you. Speaking of Souls-likes, there was another game which really stood out for me this year, which was Another Crab's Treasure. A more colourful Souls-like, far less difficult, and with more overt storytelling. The main character is very likeable and has a great arc. The world combines dark comedy, colourful visuals, environmental storytelling with the theme of human waste and even horror in some parts. The gameplay is fun, keeps the Soulsborne combat style. No, it's not as tight as FromSoft's games, but that's fine, it's fun enough. The bosses are cool, the level design is great, the jokes are funny. Honestly, everything's outstanding. It made me emotional towards the end, made me laugh, made me thrilled and excited, and gave a fantastic critique of capitalism to do with environmentalism and class. I'm shocked this isn't talked about more. Also, it has a great Bloodborne style boss, which I think is really neat, so please play this. Other games I liked from this year: UFO 50, Plucky Squire, Witch Hand, Nodebuster, Breachway, Void Crew, and Dot Age. There are plenty of potentially great games coming out next year that I'm extremely excited for, with plenty of unannounced games, so this could be genuinely one of the best years in a long time. I may get into Monster Hunter for the first time, which could take up my whole life, and from the early tests the buzz is very positive. There was a strange AAA turn-based RPG which was shown off called Claire Obscure Expedition 33. Come on, change that title. From the trailer it looks very interesting, so this could be one to watch. There's a new Doom game which has a gun which crushes a skull to make bullets. Need I say more? A new Professor Layton game on the Switch after years of silence? I'm curious if they can make something great, but time will tell. Metroid Prime Beyond, according to the leaks it has bigger environments, but honestly just making another Metroid Prime with the quality near the predecessors would be amazing anyway. Elden Ring Night Rain, which is a roguelike made by a different director. Judging by the trailer, it looks alright, has more character action mechanics which could be okay. It's nice to see FromSoft experimenting with their major IPs, and it had Nameless King turn up halfway through, and as a FromSoft fanboy myself, I was very happy by that. And so maybe that's just what this will be, just a nice little fanboy game for me. Then we get into the great indies. Mina the Hollower, the first proper new IP from Yacht Club Games, who created Shovel Knight, my game of the year in 2014, seems to be based more on isometric Zelda and Castlevania. Yes, please. Hades 2 comes out of early access. Hades was my game of the year in 2020, and I'm very excited to see how they can possibly expand upon the monumental content in the first game. Slay the Spire 2. There are a lot of games coming through here with high expectations from me, so let's see. What can I say? I literally made a game inspired by Slay the Spire, so I'm excited. Possibly chapters 3, 4 and 5 for Deltarune, which comes from Undertale, my game of the year in 2015. I already loved the first 2 chapters, so goodness me, I'm excited. Possibly Silksong? I know it's a meme at this point, but certainly it's gotta be possible to come out this year, surely. Come on now. A sequel to Coromon called Coromon Rogue Planet. I had a very glowing review for it for twisting the Pokemon mechanics, and so I'm interested to see what they do here. Earthblade, an interesting game from the developers of the beloved Celeste. I'll be interested to see what they do here, it seems more action orientated. Pathologic 3, a game I'm sure I will give up after 4 hours and enjoy watching the 3-hour videos made on it. Possibly we're going to get the Haunted Chocolatier, another wonderful Stardew Valley-esque game from the same developer, so yes please, goodness me, this is a stacked year. Or possibly Pony Island 2 from Daniel Mullins. But that's not all. There are plenty of heavily rumoured and unannounced games. Where is Nintendo, you may ask? Well, judging by the rumours, there will be the Nintendo Switch 2 announced around January, and released around March, which I find quite crazy to be honest. Obviously, it's been in development for a while, with dev kits going to places like Ubisoft around 3 years ago now. Nintendo of all companies know they need big games to get people to adopt a new console. They need to learn from the Switch's success and the Wii U's failure. In 2017, when the Switch came out in March, Breath of the Wild came out at launch with the console. Mario Odyssey came out in November, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Mario and Rabbids, ARMS and Splatoon 2 all released in between, which is a very strong first year. We just had Tears of the Kingdom and Echoes of Wisdom, so I doubt we'll see a Zelda game for a few years, but here are some of the predictions I believe we will get on the Switch 2 within the first year. Mario Kart 9 will be the launch title. It's a huge seller, and it's been a while since we've seen a new entry. If I had to speculate, I'd say where the DLC was going, we'd add more characters from different games that aren't necessarily Mario. The name Mario Kart All-Stars. A new 3D Mario which will focus on a completely linked world, which Bowser's Fury teased. It's been a while since we've had a 3D Mario platformer and would make a lot of sense. Maybe another October or November release, I believe. Also, If I had to put money down, I would say we'll get a new Kirby game, possibly a new Animal Crossing game. A new Super Smash Bros. Is probably too far away, judging by what Sakurai is saying about his development timelines. A new Fire Emblem came out too recently. A new Punch-Out, new Pokemon, new Pikmin, new Donkey Kong, new Luigi's Mansion, and probably new Splatoon. We'll probably get those games, but only from 2026 onwards. Some other major announcements I would like to see in 2025 would be new games from Mobius, Tango Works, Moonsprout, Lucas Pope, and Isometric Corp Games. There could be another Bloodstained game from Koji Igarashi. I'm sure Resident Evil 9 will be announced, hopefully keeping with recent form. And finally, let's do some more crazy predictions that I would like and nothing else. Earthbound gets a remake in claymation style. Mother 3 is localized on Switch 2. Banjo-Kazooie gets a new game announced at E3, probably made by a different team and probably not Playtonic. Bloodborne PC port announced. A new Paper Mario game is announced following the 1,000 Year Door formula instead of the Rot. A classic isometric Zelda game being developed by an outside team, possibly Capcom again. A Mega Man X style game, like how Mega Man 9 revived classic Mega Man. A new Star Fox game developed outside Nintendo, basically what Zero should have been without the control scheme. A Donkey Kong 64 style collectathon being developed not by Playtonic or Rare, but maybe someone like Haze-like Studio or Gears for Breakfast. A Chrono Trigger or Chrono Cross sequel game, or another game in the Chrono franchise. Jak and Daxter returns, but not developed by Naughty Dog. Get Druckmann's dirty paws off that franchise. A new Castlevania game in the Symphony of the Night style, developed by another studio. There are a lot of franchises that need to be away from their owners, it seems. And that's it. I hope it's a great year for everyone. Happy New Year's.